You're listening to the Easy Feed podcast, episode number 65 5 Powerful Ways to Set Your Child Up for Lifelong Health.
Hi there, I'm Karina Savage, and with over 20 years' experience feeding children, including my own, I've learnt all the secrets that busy mums need to get their children eating better and actually enjoying healthy foods. So a huge welcome to the Easy Feed podcast.
Welcome back. I hope you're well. I thought it was timely to share my top 5 things that I'm doing now to help my kids thrive later, because these really tie in with the theme of my 5 Days to Healthier Kids Challenge, which starts in a couple of weeks. I'm super excited to be running this again. Every time I run it, it just gets bigger and better. And yeah, we're taking registrations now. So jump in. It's going to be so much fun. We start on Monday, the 23rd of June. And every day I'll be going live and we'll be covering the most important topics on kids' nutrition and health. We're going to be covering everything from fussy eating to reducing sugar to gut health to avoiding nasty food additives to the important mindful eating and teaching your children how to have a healthy relationship with food. So, all of these topics I'm going to be covering in my challenge, and you're going to be having a simple but highly effective challenge task every day to keep the momentum rolling. It's a really supportive environment. We have a lot of fun. And I've even got some awesome prizes to give away. So, yeah, it starts in a couple of weeks. So, the podcast episode today is really in line with what I'm going to be talking about in my challenge. Talks through those 5 powerful ways that we can really set our children up for lifelong health. Because I think sometimes it can all seem too overwhelming. It can seem really hard, and you hear so much about the importance of gut health and the importance of reducing sugar. And there's the movement, the no sugar lunchbox movement, which I'm like, whatever. Who does that? There's so many things that we hear that I think sometimes bring us down and make us feel like we're doing a crap job as parents, because you're like, my kid has lots of sugar in their lunchbox. My kid's gut health isn't as good as it could be. We don't have veggies on the dinner plate every night. All right, you offer them every night, but they're not necessarily eating them. I have so many different stories. One of the mums who introduced herself last night into our challenge private Facebook group, she said, my child eats no fruit or vegetables. Or I was chatting to somebody earlier, when was it, yesterday, who was talking to me about how her child gets tummy pain, and she's quite careful about the foods that she gives her child. She's actually currently also going through my Supermarket Guru program, which, if you're interested in, I will give you the link in the show notes. That is a new program that I have recently released, launched, and it's a fantastic program, and it's actually super affordable. It's a great intro offer at the moment. So that is something that this mum is going through, and then her child's getting tummy pain. And so despite trying to avoid all the nasties, sometimes there's still problems that go on. And I feel like sometimes it can be so overwhelming trying to feed kids, and then they're fussy. And then you see something online about food additives and you're like, oh my gosh, where do I start with that? And then you see something about trying to have well rounded children that aren't going to grow up feeling guilty or bad about eating junk food or having an eating disorder. And I just feel like so much can go through your head. Look, I don't know. And maybe none of this goes through your head. And if it doesn't, then lucky you. That's great. And of course, I'm a kid's dietitian, so there's going to be more of that going through my head every day. But I'm basically here to try and pass on good quality, evidence based information to you. And if any of that stuff's going through your head, or if you doom scrolling online and you see all of the low sugar, the low additives, the mindful eating, all of the stuff that makes you think, "Oh my god, I'm not doing as good a job as I should be in the food department," then this podcast episode is for you, because it's to try to simplify what we should be focusing on, and it's trying to give you a simple starting point. I think we just sometimes need a simple starting point to then put one foot in front of the other, and then you gain momentum. Whereas if it feels too hard and you don't know where to start, you just keep going round and round in circles and you never start. So it's important to have a starting point, and these 5 key areas will definitely give you some starting points. And really, you can pick where you start, or really, I think it's about choose your own adventure and what's more important to you and what's more relevant to your family. Is gut health the focus, or is it fussy eating? Or is it avoiding food additives and preservatives? Or is it reducing sugar? Or is it that you really want your children to be mindful eaters where they have a healthy relationship with food and know where treats fit and they're not obsessing about foods and they're not sneaking and hiding food? So, really, I think it's a choose your own adventure and work out what's the priority for your family and where you start. And you might go, all of those are important. Of course, they all are important, which is why I'm sharing them with you. But you really need to start somewhere. Don't try and do it all at once. Don't try and reduce sugar and reduce food additives and stop the fussy eating and create mindful eaters. You don't try and do it all at once because it's hard, right? Like it's too much. So just pick one thing to start with and then go from there. And look, if you really want the intel and a deeper dive, then join my 5 Days to Healthier Kids challenge because we're going to go through some pretty cool stuff and a lot of understanding and deeper diving into those areas. And it's free. So join us. So head to the link in the show notes for that as well. Okay, let's start with I have to confess, it is my favorite. Look, I've always loved gut health. And if you've been with me a while, you will know that I'm a massive gut health geek. I just love talking about everything to do with digestion and absorption of nutrients and gut issues in kids and babies with gut issues. So you name it, I'm your person. I'm happy to talk about poo all day long. So, gut health is crucial. And the reason it's so crucial is because our gut and our brain are linked. There's 40% of the same neurotransmitters in our brain as there is in our gut. It's a gut feeling that I had. That's not a myth. That's actually legitimate. So, there's a reason why people have historically had a gut feeling because there's so many messengers that come from your gut microbes that travel to your brain that then control things in your brain. The messages from your gut to your brain, there's a super highway. It's called the gut brain axis. It's the enteric nervous system. It's the vagus nerve. You can take a deep dive down this path and it's amazing. The gut brain connection is huge. And there's so much evidence now linking anxiety and depression, mood disorders, and your gut health. So many diseases linked to gut health, autoimmune conditions. The gut really is the center of our systemic health. And it's the foundation of where most of our immune system is. 3/4 of our immune system is in our gastrointestinal tract. It's where digestion happens. It's where we either upregulate or downregulate inflammation. And inflammation is a nasty thing in the body, and it's a huge cause of a lot of diseases. So, really, the gut's reaction to foods, to bugs, to other viruses impacts how we feel. And then, as I said, our gut microbes produce all these messages that then go to the brain and they talk all of the time. And so we need to make sure that our child's gut health is as good as it can be because a healthy gut will mean a healthy mind. If your child has good gut health, they are much more likely to learn better, concentrate more easily, be healthier, be in a better mood more often. They are going to have better immunity against sickness. They are likely to poop better and have less risk of constipation. They're likely to be a healthier weight. There's so many things that are linked to a good gut health. They're likely to need less medication. They're likely to have less anxiety. The list, I could just go on, but it's so important that we support their gut health through food. And look, aside from food, there are other factors that will influence gut health, and the history of your child's gut health plays a role in it as well. If they've had a healthy upbringing, they've had good gut health all their life, they haven't had a lot of sickness or a lot of antibiotics, then their gut health may be much better placed than sadly a child who through no fault of their own, have had to have a lot of antibiotics, and that can definitely impact the gut microbiome and therefore where the child's gut is at right now. But wherever your child's gut health is at right now, we can always improve it. Okay. So we can feed those good bugs with fiber rich foods. The sexy name for it is prebiotics, right? So we feed them with fruits, preferably with the skin on, vegetables, same deal. Don't peel your carrots, don't peel your potatoes, whole grains, nuts, seeds, legumes. So important. We don't give our kids enough legumes. So cannellini beans, butter beans, baked beans, edamame, lentils, chickpeas, throw them at them in as many ways as you can. It's so good for them. Then we've got fermented foods. So you've got any type of yogurt. It can be dairy or non-dairy as long as it's got bacteria in it that's fermenting. That's good for the gut. Then you've got miso, you've got kefir, you've got sauerkraut. Okay, so there's all of these beautiful foods that can nurture our child's gut health. And that's really important. The other thing that's also going to be beneficial to their gut health is whole foods and less of the processed foods because ultra processed foods that have long ingredients lists that use highly refined ingredients are likely to actually harm the gut microbiome. Okay, so that's why I've created this supermarket guide. It's a really low cost, brilliant guide of over 85 breakfast cereals, snacks, muesli bars, even ice creams that are free from nasties, that are low in sugar, that are low in salt, that are going to be good for your child to consume. Ice cream's not necessarily going to be good for your child to consume, but it's a best option and it's low in all of the nasties or free from all of the nasties. So this great supermarket guide can be purchased and the link will be in the show notes below. So my number one is to start with gut health. You don't have to start with gut health, but my number one is gut health. And look, these are not necessarily in order of where I place their importance. I think they're all important. And as I said, you need to decide where to start for your family. Number two is offering variety in a non pressurized environment. And this really comes down to managing fussy eating because with fussy eaters, if they're in a pressurized environment, if they're in a pressure cooker situation, there is no chance you're going to get them to enjoy a greater variety of foods or to enjoy a new food. Really, let's be honest, if you are pressured to do something, do you really think you're gonna start to enjoy doing that? No way. And as parents, we use that. It's our survival tactic. Do it. Just eat it. Just take one bite. It's good for you. If you do that, you can get dessert. If you do that, I'll give you 50 bucks. I have been told that before. Literally, a child was given 50 bucks. We do this because it's a survival tactic, because we don't have any other tricks up our sleeve and we just want our kids to be healthy. We want our kids to eat well. So we start to apply the pressure. We do it without even realizing we're doing it in the words that we use, in the body language that we use. Kids are like sponges, they absorb everything, the verbal and more importantly, non-verbal. So if you're anxious, if you're unsure, if you're worried, if you're feeling like you want to pressure them, they will pick up on all of that. And this is one area that I really dive deep into in my 3-week Feeding Kids Reset, which is my fussy eating program. It sits inside Nourishing Kids, and it's really looking at that feeding environment and how we are behaving as parents. The words we use, they count big time. So, look, maybe this is where you need to start. If you feel like your feeding environment is really off and it's a pressure cooker situation, then this is where you need to start. You really need to start by taking that 30,000 foot view. And if you're like, Karina, I have no idea where to start, then contact me via my website. Send me a message on Instagram. My Nourishing Kids program is application only. So we make sure the right people are in there so that we're supporting them. We're a supportive group. And I like to be able to really contribute to people individually in our live calls. But do contact me if this is something that you would be interested in, because I'd love to support you if you're a great fit for the program. Okay, moving on to number three. And number three really comes down to the food additives. Now, look, I have a whole other episode on food additives and specifically in relation to behavior in children with ADHD. That is episode number 13. So you can check that out. But why we need to start to pay more attention to food additives and preservatives is because we're learning more and more about the impact on our children to the point where They're now banning the use of artificial colors now in 9 states of America. In the UK, there's warning statements on foods that contain particular artificial colors, warning parents about the potential increase in attention and behavior issues in children that are susceptible. But good old Australia is still just pouring what they want into the foods, and our children are susceptible to whatever gets poured into our food. And parents, we buy these foods still. You look at the ice blocks, it's really hard to find an ice block that doesn't have these artificial colors, which is why I created that supermarket guide, as I was talking about before, giving you the best ice creams and ice blocks that don't have these artificial colors in them. Artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives like sodium benzoate, sorbate, MSG, they're found everywhere and they are linked to behavioral issues. They can also impact gut health. There's a lot of research into these additives, emulsifiers, and their impact on gut health may contribute to inflammation as well and leaky gut. So, look, many are unnecessary and can be easily avoided if you know what to look for. And sadly, at the moment, manufacturers are still using them because they're an easy way to keep food fresher for longer or an easy way to mix foods with these emulsifiers so that they stay the right consistency and money to create a product that doesn't have these nasties. And it's really pleasing to see that there are companies now who are creating seasonings and all sorts of products without these nasties. And it's great for the future generation because it means we're starting to get rid of all of these nasties that have so easily crept in over the last 10, 20 years. So we really need to be reading the ingredients lists. We really need to be looking at food labels, and my advice is to check those foods that you regularly buy, probably every 3 to 6 months. Just check the nutrition table, check the ingredients list, just to make sure that nothing's changed. If you think it's okay for your children, pop it in the trolley or pop it in the online order, but every 3 to 6 months, really just have a look just to make sure that nothing's changed because products do change over time. And look, if you really want to deep dive into everything to do with label reading, I have a fantastic supermarket guru program recently launched. And it is literally a one stop shop to make you a supermarket guru. And it gives you everything you need to know. I've even got little videos where I sit there with all of the food packets in front of me. And I'm like, here's a great one, here's a great one, here's a great one. It just gives you those food products to buy that you know are going to be better for your kids so that even if you're time poor, you can still choose better snacks for your children. So, being more mindful of food additives and preservatives is number 3. And for some people, that's the one thing that they will focus on. In the 5 Days to Healthier Kids challenge, you will have a challenge, and I'm not going to give it away now, but there is a challenge in that. It's on day 3, it's on the Wednesday. And that's a great challenge because when we post the results of everyone's task in the group, everybody gets to see what everyone else has done. And it's a really great learning opportunity there. So I'm not going to give it away, but that could be the place that you start. It could be that you start by simply focusing on reducing artificial food colors and flavors and preservatives and really starting to pay a little more attention to that ingredients list because that's really where you need to be looking. All right, number 4 relates to reducing sugar. And I must say for me, for my kids, it's probably I think they're all important and I like to focus on all of them, but as I said, if I was to really try to focus on one for me and my family, I'd probably be looking to reduce the sugar further because there's so much evidence around our children's really high sugar intake these days. And I know how sugar impacts behavior and mood. On Channel 7 Sunrise, we were talking about whether breakfast was the most important meal of the day. And there was some interesting studies looking at children and students and the impact of breakfast on their motivation levels and actual performance in a science test it was. Well, biology is science, right? So it was actually really impressive to see all of the evidence. We know that breakfast is important for the majority, but it was really interesting to see it written in black and white in proven research studies, the link between good quality carbohydrates and performance at school, and the poorer breakfast options were actually closely linked in terms of the children that had really bad breakfast options, they did as poorly as those who had no breakfast at all. So the highest sugar, poorer breakfast options, the junky options, were linked to lower motivation levels in the morning at school and a poorer result on the test. Feel like it creeps in everywhere, and they want a treat in their lunchbox, and they want a treat after school, and then they want something after dessert, and it just all adds up. And if you look at the research in the pediatric world and you look at the impact of sugar on our children and their health, it's so damning, and I really think it is a focus for a lot of parents. And I think there's this fine line, right? It's a fine line between completely shaming sugar, which we shouldn't do because it's not going to help anyone because kids are still going to want it and it's just going to create arguments and probably more of a forbidden fruit mentality. But we also at the same time need to reduce it for our children because a high sugar intake is linked to obesity. It's linked to insulin resistance. It's linked to dental decay. It's linked to poorer microbiome and gut imbalance. And it also trains our children to like those sugary foods. So their taste buds are preferentially wanting these higher sugar foods and they carry these taste preferences with them into adulthood. So, for a number of reasons, we don't want to ban sugar for good, but we really need to be mindful of trying where possible to reduce the sugar in a smart way so that our children don't even realize we're reducing it, but we are. And I think drinks are a really good place to start because drinks are a source of sugar that our kids can just guzzle so much sugar down in a 400 mils of apple juice, huge amount of sugar there, or a soft drink, or some of these flavored waters and whatnot. Some of those still have a lot of sugar, the iced teas and whatnot. Sauces are another one, tomato sauces, barbecue sauce is often like 30-40% sugar. So they can often get a lot of extra sugar from places that we don't even associate as being high sugar. It's not like they're eating a lolly or a killer python or anything like that, but it all adds up. It absolutely does. And so rather than banning it, because then you're much more likely to have a child that will sneak behind your back because they feel like they can never ever have it. And that's where you create that kind of forbidden fruit mentality, right? They want it more because it's forbidden. But there's plenty of things we can do. We can change the yogurt, we can swap cereals, we can limit the juice, we can swap the sweets for more baked goods, or you can choose better muesli bar options using my supermarket guide. There's so many things we can do, and little changes done consistently across the day will make a big difference. Absolutely. So sugar might be where you start. As I said, just pick one place. And the final one, number 5, is creating mindful eaters for life. Look, you only have to look at 60-year-old women, maybe even 40 or 50-year-old women, and how many of them have either done some form of Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Light and Easy. Now there's new like low carb diet plans. Like so many diet plans have been done by women because they have felt guilty about their weight, felt guilty about the way they've eaten, haven't trusted their bodies, aren't confident to listen to their appetite, are heavier than they'd like to be. There's a whole lot of body image issues, body positivity problems. There's just so much out there. And if we can try to create mindful eaters as children who love their bodies no matter what and understand how to have a healthy relationship with food that includes treats. So there's no food guilt, there's no shaming if they have chocolate, there's no connotations around, I'm so bad. I had a chocolate bar today that starts this spiral down into disordered eating. If we can just get our children to love food, have a healthy relationship with food when they're young, they're not going to have any of these food problems when they get older, or there's going to be a much lower chance of them having food problems when they're older. And look, in our challenge, I talk a lot more and even more inside Nourishing Kids. But I will dive deeper into how we as parents play a powerful role, especially with mothers with their daughters, fathers with their sons, fathers with their daughters as well, in providing that really positive role modeling around our bodies and the way that we talk about food. It's all so crucial. So, if creating mindful eating is number one in your family, then great. Like, I've certainly had many patients, many mums say to me over the years, especially mums, look, my 3-year-old is just obsessed with eating. Like, we go to the playground, they don't even want to play. They just want to sit down and open their lunchbox and then they smash that and then they go to see what everyone else is eating and then take some of that. Some kids are really obsessed with food and they really want to set their children up for a healthy future, make sure they're not too heavy, and also just create mindful eaters for life so that they love food, but they know how to self regulate their appetite and eat to what they need. And there's a lot we can do around that in terms of how we talk about food, how we set up a healthy feeding plan for that child, how the family talks about food, how the family eats. There's a lot we can do there. So if that's a priority for you, then that's where I would start and start to just observe what happens with the way you're talking about food, observe the way that your child is talking about food and behaving around food. And look, I'm always up for a DM or an email if you want to talk about this more. As I said, we have a whole section of this inside Nourishing Kids, which is really helpful for mums and parents who want to create those mindful eaters for life. We've got a masterclass on this as well because it's an issue for people. And that's why I've created a masterclass for it. And I've got information on all of this inside Nourishing Kids. So, as I said before, it's application only. Reach out to me and we can chat about whether you're a good fit for Nourishing Kids. All right, let's do a quick recap of my 5 most powerful ways that I think we can set our children up to have healthy futures. Number 1, we need to make sure that we are feeding their gut with variety, with fiber, with those really important prebiotics that is going to support healthy bacterial communities in their gut, which, as I said, is the center of their systemic health. It's really the center of the universe. Number 2, we need to make sure that we are setting up a really effective feeding environment, offering variety without the pressure. Number 3, we need to make sure that we are avoiding those nasty food additives as much as possible by reading the ingredients list and knowing what to avoid and knowing what to swap to. Number 4, we need to cut down on sugar with easy swaps that will reduce sugar and increase fiber and nutrients. So there's plenty we can do there. And number 5, fostering real mindfulness around food and creating children that love food, that are healthy eaters, that have that really positive relationship with food. So I'll pop all the links to the various support resources in the show notes. My healthy supermarket guide with over 85 kids supermarket swaps, so you know exactly what to choose in terms of breakfast cereals and muesli bars and snacks and popcorn and ice creams. You'll get the link to join Supermarket Guru, which is a fantastic low-cost program where you will literally become a supermarket guru and know exactly what foods to put in your trolley forever. And you get to keep that program. 3, the link to check out Nourishing Kids with a button to apply if you're interested in joining. And number 4, last but not least, make sure you hit this button to join my free 5 Days to Healthier Kids challenge. As I said, what I've covered today is the backbone of the challenge, and we've got so much more to talk about. It's going to be fantastic, and I can't wait for that to start in just over 2 weeks. All right, I'll wrap it up there. If you haven't yet left me a review, please hit the star rating button. As soon as you finish this podcast, I would love to hear from you. It really helps us get out to more parents so that they can discover more evidence-based content that's just going to help them feed their families more easily. I look forward to chatting with you again soon. Bye for now.